In a town 58,000 strong, there moved a foreigner. He was a Jewish man from the ocean. Yet, he traveled to a land with no water to find a new life. He arrived upon plains so big, you could only call it the middle of nowhere. Now, live from a land so vast, this is his cast.
Oh, the humanity.
Cowboys, cowgirls, studs, mares, and farmers of all ages. This is the Middle of Nowhere cast with your host, Robby.
So, okay. No.
So do you have a microphone, or you don't even have a microphone?
Yeah,
you hide yours.
I got one right here.
You got this down.
Well, yeah, when you get the long hair, you can. I see some people clip them to their hats. It works pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, okay. I'm with State Senator Jeremy Miller of Minnesota. Awesome. Hello. How you doing?
Hello. Robby, thanks for being here, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Why are people from Minnesota so nice?
It's the Minnesota nice thing. I don't know what it is, but we have that reputation and we have that slogan, Minnesota nice. And it's interesting. I have the opportunity to travel around the country, whether it's for business or for politics or other things that I'm working on. And every time I meet someone, they say, "Oh, you're Minnesota. Oh, Minnesota nice. You're so nice." So yeah, I don't know what it is, but yes, we're very kind people.
I like it. I like it. The same friend that I told you I went to the AEW with, they have a summer house up in Brainerd, so I'm there almost every year, and it's awesome. And up there, everybody's equally as nice.
Yeah,
so
Lake country, beautiful up there.
Yeah, it really is. Okay.
Almost as beautiful as southeastern Minnesota.
Well, it's more of a front rangey vibe down here than the lakes. I don't know. Yeah. So, all right, we have a lot to talk about today, I guess, because Minnesota is in the national news like every day. Like, what's going on here from 30,000 feet from a state senator from Minnesota?
We're making the news for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately. And to me, it comes down to leadership. And as someone who has grown up in a family where I learned values like hard work, respect, and honesty, I have learned that if you want something, you have to work for it. You have to earn it. You have to put in the time and the effort to get it done, because if you don't get it done, if you don't make it happen, someone else will. And I've also learned the importance of being a good leader and putting a strong team of people around you and helping them become the best that they can be. That's very important to me. And I think what we're seeing in Minnesota right now is really a lack of leadership and a lack of accountability. And in politics, in politics and in business and everyday life, it's easy when something goes wrong to blame somebody else. Mm-hmm. Or it's easy to make an excuse or point the finger. It wasn't me, it was this person, or this happened because of this and this and this. And unfortunately, too often and too few people take responsibility. Yeah. And I think that's what separates a true leader from a wannabe leader. And that is, if something goes wrong, you have to figure out how to fix it. And the best way to do that is to bring people together and have a conversation. I'm always the first one to say that I'm not the smartest person in the room. Even if I'm the only person in the room, it's somewhat questionable who the smartest person in the room is. And I don't have all the answers, and I don't pretend to have all the answers. But what we're seeing in Minnesota right now, we'll take fraud, for example.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
So the legislature and others within state agencies and departments have been sounding the alarm on this fraud for several years now. There were some red flags that went up probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. 6, 7. I had to throw that in there. My kids will love that.
Oh,
6,
God.
7. But this has been going on not just for a year or two, but for several years. And the legislature, we've had hearings. When Republicans were in control of the legislature, we had hearings. The Minnesota House Fraud Prevention Committee right now, they're having hearings. People within the state agency and departments have been sounding the alarm on this, and nothing is being done. And Robby, what that comes down to is it all comes down to accountability and the lack of wanting to take responsibility.
So for people that don't know what's going on, and as far as fraud's concerned in Minnesota, can you give them the 30,000 foot overview of kind of what's going on in the state?
Yeah, so it started with a program called Feeding Our Future, which was a program that was supposed to provide meals to kids and families that needed meals,
no doubt
during difficult times. Absolutely,
100%. Yeah.
Well-meaning. Okay, if I'm a strong believer that no one should go hungry. So if we need to provide funding to provide food to people who aren't getting food or aren't getting enough food, absolutely. I've done that in my role as a legislator. I do that privately. We're big supporters of our community here in Winona through our business personally, and every year we contribute to the food shelf, and anything more we can do, we will do. Nobody should go hungry.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
I think we're all there on that. Yeah.
I think most people would agree. I would like to say everyone would agree, but I've also learned in politics that no matter what you do, you're not going to get everybody to agree on it.
That's true.
That's another story. So there was fraud in the Feeding Our Future program, and significant fraud. There were places, organizations, many of which were nonprofit organizations, that were saying that they were feeding X amount of people, hundreds or thousands. The state was paying them, but there were no checks and balances. They weren't making sure that the organizations were providing the meals that they were providing. So that was sort of the first one, Feeding Our Future.
Yeah.
And then the most recent one, we'll fast forward to now, and now it's the child care fraud, where we have, again, organizations, many of which I believe are nonprofit organizations, but regardless, you have organizations that are getting paid to provide child care services, millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars of fraud is we're finding out more and more every day. And these child care providers don't have any kids. They're not providing any services. They're getting the money, but they're not providing the care. We've seen it with autism services for really truly families that need help with those services, need financial assistance, need these services. There are some organizations that are being fraudulent when it comes to autism services. And here's the biggest problem in this. Multiple problems. First of all, it's taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, I can see a problem with that.
So significant problem, combination of federal and state. That's why the feds are involved. Anyone that's questioning whether or not the feds should be involved, absolutely they should be, because we're talking about a combination of federal funds and state funds. But here's the biggest, the people that are being negatively affected the most are the law-abiding businesses and organizations that are truly providing those services to people who need them.
Which question is that's the vast majority of people and businesses in Minnesota. Like, this seems like it's very clearly a few bad apples ruining the bunch in a mega way. Like in a mega way.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how many. But what we do know is it's a significant amount of money. And I just heard from a constituent within the last couple of weeks who provides services to individuals who need them, whether this is mostly healthcare related. Okay, so they provide services to children, elderly, and everyone in between. Federally funded program. And with some state funds, I believe, I'm not 100% sure on that, but certainly federal funds, the feds cut off funding as they investigate this significant fraud in Minnesota. And I don't fault the feds for doing that, because the current administration didn't do it here in Minnesota. The governor and his administration have not been investigating the fraud, so the feds have to. So I don't fault them for doing that. But Robby, what's happening is now you have law-abiding organizations, law-abiding businesses that are actually providing services that are needed, which, as you said, the vast majority of businesses, and they're being negatively impacted, and the people that they're providing services for are being negatively impacted because of the massive fraud that's going on.
Is that really the best way to go about it, do you think? Like, if there are like marginalized groups, needy communities that need these services, it seems like not the best thing to do to cut off those services. Like, and I get it. I totally get what you're saying, but like, how do we continue to help the people that need to be helped?
Right. Well, that's what we got to figure out. How do you stop the fraud, the billions of dollars of fraud that's happening in Minnesota?
That's a reported number. Is that an official number? Like, is that 100%
I believe
true?
I believe that the official numbers is over $1 billion now. I've heard anywhere from as low as 1 to 3 billion. I've heard 9 to 10 billion, and then just last week I think I heard a number of 19 or 20 billion dollars. So I don't know if anyone knows exactly what it is.
But it's a lot. No one's saying
it's a
not
lot,
Okay.
and my concern is what we've seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg. That's my concern. I hope I'm wrong.
How did you guys, and I say you guys talking about Minnesota State Legislature, let it get to this point? Like, I know you've said that you've been sounding alarm bells for years and stuff. Like, what was the first thing you noticed, and why did nobody take you seriously?
So we've done a number of things in the legislature, from trying to put together a inspector general agency or department that just focuses on fraud. We've tried to put more guardrails and more restrictions on how this money is spent. We've tried to pass legislation to ensure there's more accountability in these programs. The problem is, if you want to pass legislation, you need the Senate to pass a bill, you need the House to pass a bill, and you need the governor to sign it. So
who's saying no?
Well, we've had, and I'm not the one to point fingers or blame other people, but what I will say is there has been a lack of cooperation from the administration, so much so where I've heard from colleagues on the other side of the aisle that they've been working with Republicans on some of these guardrails, some of this legislation, and they've gotten calls from the governor to say that the administration's not supportive or to stop working. Again, this is conversations that people have told me, colleagues on the other side of the aisle. I wasn't actually on the phone when that phone call came in, so I don't know exactly what was said, but that's the gist of it. Hey, the governor's not supportive of this, or the administration's not going to support it. But at the end of the day, Robbie, you need, in Minnesota right now with the makeup of the legislature, you need bipartisan support. So the Minnesota House is tied 67-67. So you need Republicans and Democrats to work together to find a solution in the House. In the Senate, Democrats have a 34-33 majority. So you either need a proposal that all Democrats support, which we haven't been able to get, or you need a bipartisan solution that would pass the Senate with Republican and Democrat votes, and then also get bipartisan support in the House. So the reason why, again, I'm not going to sit here and blame or point fingers, but the reason why more hasn't been done as far as the legislature goes is because we haven't been able to find or get that bipartisan support to pass a bill and get it to the governor.
Why not? It sounds like it sounds like everybody should want that. When can we turn the lights back on, so to speak?
I agree. And now,
like, what I guess without, I guess we have to get into the weeds. Like, what's one thing that you've suggested that they've said no to, or that the
more accountability for these programs, more guardrails, more restrictions on how the money is spent. Office in Minnesota, a department that specifically focuses on fraud. Now we have
which under normal circumstances I would say wouldn't be needed, but clearly
it clearly is. We have a situation here where the legislative auditor, which is a nonpartisan office, highly respected. I've been in the Senate for 16 years. The legislative auditor is one of the most highly respected offices and reports that we get as the legislature. they were sounding the alarm on this, even to the point just recently they submitted a report that said that HHS was backdating some of the forms, and they were filling out the forms as the audit was going on. I mean, that is that is not good.
No, that's not how you should do
Okay,
that.
so if the nonpartisan legislative auditor is raising red flags and those red flags are being ignored, there's an issue here.
What is the other side saying? Like, they must have a reason for why they're doing it. You make it sound like they're doing nothing.
You'll have to ask them. I don't know. That's a question.
Try and put yourself in their shoes.
I can't do that. I don't want to speak for others, but that is a question that should be asked to the governor. That should be a question that is asked to the commissioners and the folks that are involved in these programs and in the different departments and the different agencies. That's a question for them. How in the world did this happen? It is insane. It is mind-boggling. And again, the numbers that we're seeing, I hope I'm wrong, but I believe they're probably just the tip of the iceberg.
What do we do from here? How do we get out of this? Like, where do we go from here?
So the legislative session, the 2026 legislative session here in Minnesota starts mid-February. I believe it's February 17th, which is my son's birthday. I believe that the legislature, Democrats and Republicans, need to put politics aside.
Yep.
And the number one focus for the 2026 legislative session should be addressing this massive fraud that is going on in Minnesota. And I don't care, Robbie, I don't care if Democrats have a good idea. I don't care if Republicans have a good idea. I don't care where the ideas come from. But we need folks to sit around a table and we need to say, okay, what is the problem? The problem is massive fraud, billions of dollars of massive fraud. What are some potential solutions to address the problem?
What do you
how
think
can we
potential
How
solutions?
can we minimize that fraud in Minnesota? And then we take ideas from Republicans and Democrats and the governor's office and agencies and departments and private sector folks. That's one thing that the government, especially in Minnesota, doesn't do a very good job, is what is the private sector doing to reduce or eliminate fraud? We have several Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered here in Minnesota. Now, most of them aren't expanding here in Minnesota because the business environment, we're not very pro-business right now, but we do have a large number of Fortune 500 companies, as well as a large number of privately held companies that are very successful. Let's go to them. Let's bring them to the table and say, what are you doing to reduce fraud at your bank or at your small business or at your manufacturing facility? And let's get ideas from them. Just because we're government doesn't mean that we can't get ideas from the private sector. So I think the number one thing we do is pretty simple. I'm a guy that don't make things more difficult than what they need to be. So let's tackle the fraud that we know is happening first. Child care centers. It's been front and center in the media lately. Well, first thing we do is let's inspect the child care centers and make sure that they are actually providing the services that they say that they're providing. Let's do a pay for performance model. Let's say, okay, you'll get the money, but after you reach different benchmarks, you have to reach this criteria and this criteria, and we're going to hold you accountable. Pretty simple stuff.
Seems like simple stuff.
Let's take a look at the legislative auditor's report. Let's implement some of the things that the legislative auditor has recommended that we do. You don't have to make things more difficult than they are. That's how I've become successful in business. It's how I've been successful in real estate, in politics, in raising my family, is keep things simple. You don't have to make things more difficult. A lot of the answers, a lot of the solutions are right here on the table. We just need cooperation within the administration. We need cooperation amongst Republicans and Democrats. And again, we need to put egos aside. We need to put politics aside and just say what is best for the people of the state of Minnesota. And Robby, I think we can come up with some good solutions, and I think we can do it relatively quickly.
Sick. Well, best of luck with that. It feels like a trivial thing to say when you're talking about a problem of this magnitude, but hopefully you guys can get something done, because,
We're going to talk about other stuff, family and outside politics too?
We can talk about
Isn't that what your podcast is about, regular people?
Usually it is, but there's so much going on here that it's like, I feel like, how do you not talk about the elephant in the room first? And then so the other thing...
Hold on here. Did you reset? Shoot.
Yes.
I got to just turn this on silent. I'm certain.
Oh, no, you're fine.
My bad.
Real people.
Everyday
Life
people,
happens.
right?
Phone calls happen. So the other thing that is gripping the nation and Minnesota right now is obviously what's going on in Minneapolis with ICE and all the immigration crackdown and stuff. So I want to talk about that too, if that's okay with you. What is going on? It seems to me as an outsider that it seems like an offensive attack from the federal government onto you guys, and I feel terrible for you guys with everything that's going on. Like, it must be hard, but from where you're sitting, what's going on?
So here's what I know, which isn't a lot. But I don't know a lot of the inside details, okay? Which I think is important. I think what we need to find out is from the White House and the others who are leading this effort is, here's the questions that what I would ask them is, why are you doing it, and what is the end goal?
Yeah.
Okay, two very simple questions. Why, and what are you hoping to achieve? Because, Robby, when I'm talking to constituents here in southeastern Minnesota, and I'm getting phone calls from other people in the state, out of the state, what's going on, and exactly what you asked, why are they doing it? Here's what I know. I think if you asked most Minnesotans, most people across the country, if an individual is here illegally, and in addition to that, they're breaking the law, they're a violent criminal, they're involved in other they're breaking the law in other ways. So they're here illegally, and
they're not being a productive member of society.
Productive member of society.
Yeah.
Should that person be deported, or should there be consequences for that?
Yeah, for sure.
I think most people would agree, yes, those are the people that we want to target. Now, on the flip side, I would say something else that is equally true is if I asked most Minnesotans, most people, hey, if ICE is targeting law-abiding citizens, people who are being productive members of society, is that wrong? And I think most people would say, yes, that is wrong. That is not the people that we should be targeting. Now, my understanding is that ICE is here targeting individuals who are here illegally and are not being productive members of society. So people that are here illegally and are criminals of some sort. Yeah. That's my understanding. So I think it would be better to have I think it would be more productive to have a better explanation from the White House, what's going on, why are you doing it, what is the end goal, and then on the flip side, it is very, very difficult. I'm all for peaceful protests, don't get me wrong, but when peaceful protests go to the next level and they start interfering with law enforcement or others, it really makes things difficult, and it escalates the situation and it escalates the situation and makes it much worse than what it is. And now you have what in some cases where peaceful protests are now turning into getting in the way of what law enforcement is trying to accomplish.
What I see, one thing that you said, it sounds like the stated goal is exactly what you said, to get rid of criminals, bad people, the people that are not being productive members of society. But from the numbers that I've seen, the independent reporting body at Syracuse University said that has reported 75% of the people they detain or arrest do not have any criminal record, which is, I think, where the frustration comes from, and that's where people are standing up. Like, so.
Yeah, and again, I think it's important for, you have independent journalists, you have mainstream media, they all play their roles. You can talk to 10 different people and you get 10 different opinions on whether they're good or bad or which one is better.
What I just said was from data collected from the federal government itself.
So I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. I think it would be really helpful for the White House, for the administration, to give us what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing, and what the end goal is. And then maybe I'll add to that additional information on who they are going after, or who they are arresting, or who they are detaining, or who they are deporting. So I think if we as Minnesotans, we as the nation, could get that information on a daily or weekly basis directly from the ones that are leading the effort to do this, I think it would be helpful for all of us, because then we would know. Who are they detaining? Who are they deporting? Are they criminals, or are they productive members of society? And until I get that information, it's hard for me to form an opinion personally on whether or not I think what they're doing is right or wrong.
Why have you not gotten that information as a state senator?
I don't know.
Have you looked? Because it seemed I just doing a couple hours of interview prep, I was able to find stuff. So
sure.
Why have you not?
I haven't requested it, but it's a good point to bring up. Maybe I should, especially now that I'm starting to get a few questions from folks. Most of the people that I hear from are supportive of the efforts of ICE, and I think it's important. What does ICE stand for?
Immigration's Custom Enforcement.
Right.
And so it seems I'm totally supportive in theory of the stated goal of ICE. It just seems like that's not at all what they're doing.
I feel like many of the people that have opinions on ICE one way or the other don't even know what ICE stands for. I'm going to Google it real quick. What is ICE? You were close. I don't know if you were exactly on.
It's not Immigrations and Custom Enforcement?
Maybe it is. Let me look here. It is. I think there might be one more word that we're missing there.
ICE? All right, we'll find out.
Yep, you're right. ICE is Immigrations and Custom Enforcement. Yes.
I just how...
But most people that I ask, what is ICE? They don't know. They don't know what ICE is. They don't know what ICE stands for. They don't know.
Both know.
We both know.
Yeah.
But most people don't. They don't know that ICE is here enforcing immigration. If you're here in our country illegally, it's a bigger question. There's no doubt that we need immigration reform in our country. Absolutely. I was just at a meeting yesterday, hearing from local folks, had some immigration-related questions. Unfortunately, most of this is done at the federal level, so there's not a lot we can do at the state level. But the one thing we can do, and you're absolutely right about, and something that I should do and I will do, is reach out to folks in the federal government to get a better idea of who they are detaining, who they are deporting, because that information would be helpful for me, and I think it would be helpful for just about everyone else who is interested in this topic.
It just doesn't seem like they're doing that job, though. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, like they just killed a U.S. citizen. How does that fit into immigration?
It depends what video you watch.
I don't think it does. I've seen all of them. I don't think there's any way that you can look at what happened to Renee Good and not call that murder.
I think you can, and
Please try.
I think it depends on what video you watch and what your opinion is. Was she accelerating toward a law enforcement officer? I mean, we have a law on the books here in Minnesota that Governor Walz signed that you can't use your vehicle as a weapon. So you have your opinion, I have my opinion. Again, if you ask 10 different people, you'll probably get 10 different answers. If you ask 20 different people, you'll get 20 different answers.
I don't think it's a matter of opinion, though. I think this is like you're conflating fact with opinion. Like,
are you though?
Yeah, I think I've seen it with my own eyeballs.
Was he not?
I've seen the video.
I've
seen the video from behind the car. I've seen the officer's point of view video. I've seen another video from across the street. It does not look like this woman's trying to kill him or hurt him. It looks like she's trying to get away.
I feel like it's a very unfortunate situation that could have been prevented. I think it could have been prevented if the woman driving the car would have been cooperating with law enforcement. Absolutely. I feel like it could have been handled differently by the law enforcement officer who it appeared was, what I saw, it appeared the car was going toward the law enforcement officer. That's what it looked like to me. Now, maybe my eyes saw something different than what yours, and the reports I saw is the vehicle actually made contact with the law enforcement.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't know if that justifies lethal force, though.
I don't know if it does or not. I don't know. I have not been through the training that law enforcement officer has been through. So I don't know what the protocol is. I would like to think that there should have been and could have been another outcome where someone's life was not lost. I 100% agree. I wish the outcome would have been different. But I think there are a number of things that led to that point that we may know, we may not know, I don't know. But alls I know, Robbie, is if people cooperate with law enforcement, and if she would have done what she was told she should have been done or what she was being asked to do,
would you have listened if a gun was getting pointed at you? Like, I totally get where she's coming from.
Was the gun being pointed at her, though? I don't know.
No,
I don't think anyone was pointing a gun at her. I think they were verbally telling her to move
you're right.
or to get out of the car.
If you're in Minnesota and you see a bunch of cops beating people up, arresting people with no apparent cause or reason, like if that's your life and you're in that situation, you're scared. Like I could empathize with how she was feeling in the moment before she was killed.
Absolutely, but I agree if that was the case. But was that the case? Was she scared? Was she fearing for her life, or was she interfering with a law enforcement operation? I think it's two different things. I think what you said is one situation. I'm not sure, based on what I saw, that was the situation that this woman was in. To me, it appeared like she was interfering with law enforcement operations. Now,
yeah. But if somebody does that, that doesn't mean they should be killed without.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I'm totally. If you're going to interfere, like I agree,
but you also said that if someone was pointing a gun at you, I don't recall seeing in any of the videos anyone pointing a gun at her.
I take that back.
What I recall seeing is her blocking traffic, and then another video that came out, a couple days later, that she had been interfering with this law enforcement operation, for multiple minutes, and then other reports came out that she was doing it all day, or
so. Let's just say that's true. Let's say 100% she was interfering, 100% she was trying to disrupt, 100% she was getting in the way.
Yep.
All of that is true. Let's just assume. We don't know if it is, but let's just assume.
Okay.
I'm a U.S. citizen too. I've lived here all my life. I see the federal government killing citizens Law-abiding citizens, who cares? That's like, I feel like the same thing that you said on the fraud. Like not a Democrat thing, not a Republican
Absolutely.
thing. Like the federal government's murking us. Like
Yeah.
how do we come together and make it stop? Like
I don't think she should have died.
and in what world?
I think if she's not interfering with law enforcement, if she cooperates and doesn't accelerate toward whatever, she hit the guy, didn't hit the guy. If she cooperates and she doesn't accelerate her vehicle toward a law enforcement official, she's still alive. That's what I think.
When you say that, it sounds like you're like justifying the murder.
No, I'm not justifying. I'm not justifying anything. She should still be alive.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a tragic event. She should not be dead.
And I think everybody, not everybody, but most people think that. So
Absolutely tragic. She should still be alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if the situation would have played out differently, she would still be alive.
And to the end of needing effective immigration enforcement, like we both said that there should be, I don't see a world in which the way that they're going about things in Minneapolis is going to accomplish that goal. Because if you're going around and terrorizing a whole city, I'm just speaking how I've heard they say that they feel, how is that going to lead to...
Let me ask you the question differently.
Okay.
If ICE came in and they were allowed to do their job and people weren't interfering with their mission, would it be going a lot more smoothly, or would we continue to have the pure chaos that we're having right now? I feel that much of the chaos that's happening is because people aren't cooperating, and not only are people not cooperating, you have another group of people who are interfering with the operation. But again, Robbie, it all comes back to we need more communication from the top. What is the goal?
The goal is to arrest the criminals, and I totally get that. But what I'm saying is that I think people started to interfere and people started to not cooperate when they saw that what the stated goal wasn't actually happening.
Right, and that's why we need more information on. That's why we need more information on what are the results.
But we have that information.
Right. I haven't seen the information, so I will reach out again today. I'm going to reach out to my contacts in the federal government and say, hey, can I get this information? Because again, I think it goes back to what I said earlier. I think most people would agree that if ICE is here, Immigration and Border Enforcement, right? That's what ICE is.
Well, Customs.
Customs. I'm
CBP
sorry.
is.
Yeah. ICE, yes, I'm sorry. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which includes, does that include the border?
I think Immigrations and Customs Enforcement is the internal body that governs like customs enforcement, people who are in that shouldn't be, and then the Border Patrol.
Say that again.
CBP.
People that are what?
Who are in the country and shouldn't be.
Okay, why shouldn't they be here?
Because they didn't go through the legal processes or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe they're seeking asylum, they're undocumented for the time being.
So for whatever reason, they crossed our borders and they're here illegally.
Yeah.
So I think most people would agree, again, most people, that if ICE is going after the folks that are here illegally and not productive, not contributing to society in a positive way, if they're criminals, there should be consequences for that.
I agree. But that's again, not what's happening.
And that's where then we need to figure that out. Then we need to figure that out, and then potentially changes need to be made if in fact that's not happening. And I don't know that. I need to see those statistics.
I don't want to be disrespectful at all, because thank you for having me here and thank you for letting me be here. But how do you not know, as a state senator in Minnesota, what's going on in Minneapolis? Like, it's all over the news.
I'll be honest, Robbie, I don't know who to believe. You'll see a report here that'll say one thing. You'll see a report here that says something completely different. You'll see something here that is maybe somewhere in the middle. As a state senator, I don't know what media I can or can't believe anymore.
That's tough. That's tough.
I don't know who I can believe anymore.
And that all goes back to a bunch of stuff we don't have time to get into because I know we're almost out of time. But I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. It feels like the situation's so out of hand, and it feels like nobody wants this. The people who it's affecting at least don't want this, but it continues to happen. Like, I just worry when I see the effort to demonize a group of other people just because of whoever if they have brown skin, if they're an immigrant, if they're Somali, if it's whatever. Whenever I see people using immutable characteristics to categorize and demonize, like, I feel like that's where you're getting into rocky territory.
I cannot agree with you more.
And
I'm a Jewish kid that grew up in a predominantly non-Jewish community. Mm-hmm. I've been dealing with anti-Semitism my whole life, from a young kid on up. So I absolutely agree. No one should be demonized.
Last question I'll ask then. Do you see any parallels with what happened pre-World War II in Europe with the cornering and segmentation of the Jewish population to what's going on right now with immigrants in America?
Do I see any correlation?
Yeah, any correlation or parallels?
I don't see any correlation or parallels in the situation that you just mentioned. No.
Okay.
But I do see a lot of anti-Semitism. I deal with a lot of anti-Semitism. I've learned to deal with it, and so I do think that there are still people that look at different groups differently or in a negative way, and I absolutely think that is wrong.
Cool.
Well, okay. Robby, you asked me like a lot of questions. You went like right into it on fraud and ICE, but and maybe it's a mistake on my end, but I thought part of your podcast was more about, hey, these are politicians and this is what they do in the legislature, but yes, they're real people and this is what they're doing in their communities. Can we talk a little bit about that as well?
Absolutely. I think that is a great idea.
Because I think that's really important because...
let's talk about Winona then for a moment if we can, because you guys seem to have just a very charming little town here.
Yeah, so I was born and raised here in Winona. It's a community of about 25,000 people. Did all my schooling here. I didn't necessarily have the easiest childhood in a couple ways. Number one, I'm a Jewish kid that grew up in a predominantly non-Jewish community. And number two, I don't know if I was actually officially diagnosed, but certainly had a learning disability or trouble reading. So I was growing up in elementary school, I had to go to a special class for reading. And actually, Robby...
You're describing my childhood right now.
Oh, really?
Jewish kid who did grow up in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood, and I also am horrible at reading.
So I'm terrible at reading to this day.
What's your deal?
I have to work harder. I'm a terrible speller.
I don't have dyslexia, but I have such bad ADHD that I test positive for dyslexia.
Okay.
Because when I read, it's that hard to go word to word that it's...
So my problem is I do a lot of reading, it just takes me longer to read something and to comprehend it, to understand. I can't
skim. Like when I have words on my paper, like I have to read every one.
I cannot skim either.
The people that are like, oh yeah, just look at it. I got it. I'm like, I do not got it at all.
And now it's funny as I do, obviously in my role as a state senator, I read a lot of bills, and some of those bills are hundreds of pages. That's a lot of reading, but I also do a fair amount of real estate investing. So I'm looking through, in fact, I'm working on a real estate deal right now, and last night I was reading through the lease agreement. It's 47 pages, and I'm just like, and then some of it's legal jargon, which I'm certainly not an expert at. But yes, Winona's a charming town. Awesome family life growing up. Just struggled with some things at school, but I learned growing up the values of hard work, respect, and honesty. And now I'm married to my beautiful wife, Janelle. I definitely married up. She's not only is she beautiful, but she's
not a bad-looking guy.
very intelligent. Well, I appreciate that. She's very intelligent, and like me, she's a go-getter. She when she commits to doing something, she gets it done, and that comes back to the values that we've learned from our parents growing up, and these are the same type of values that we try to teach our kids. We have two 12-year-olds, twin boys, and then our oldest is 13, will be 14 here in a few weeks. So we try to teach them the same values that we learned: hard work, respect, and honesty. And if you want something, you have to work for it. You have to earn it, because if you don't, someone else will. My dad taught me that there aren't too many trips down easy street. So if you want something, you have to work for it. You have to earn it. And again, if you don't do it, someone else will.
Is that like, that seems like, I'm totally making this up, but that seems like the Minnesota way. Or am I giving undue credit to Minnesota? Because
no, it is.
I'm a huge fan of yours.
We talked about Minnesota Nice earlier, and I think it all goes into, I think it's the Minnesota way, and it's certainly the Winona way. Winona's a unique community, very rich in manufacturing, and a lot of companies, a lot of successful companies got their start here in Winona, many of which are still here. Some operate locally, regionally,
is there anything
statewide, and we also have some companies that are global. You have Fastenal Company, which is a publicly traded company.
The hotel I stayed at was right next to their buildings. What is Fastenal?
Fastenal is a manufacturer. Got their start making nuts and bolts.
Okay.
And have
Fastenal.
They're Fastenal. They're a leader in industrial supplies now across the world.
Okay.
You have another one that a lot of people know, Windcraft by Fanatics. So this is going to be anything sports team related. So NBA, NFL, NCAA, Olympics, WWE wrestling. I'm a huge wrestling fan. So Fanatics will make the pennants and the keychains and the signs and the banners and the mugs.
I've heard of Fanatics. I did. That's Winona?
That's Winona. Well, Windcraft got their start in Winona, and then Fanatics a few years back purchased Windcraft.
I see. So that's pretty cool.
If you look actually right out the window there, that blue, tannish blue building, that's a Windcraft building.
Oh, cool.
So they're a big manufacturer. RTP Company is a plastic composite company that they're global. They make little pellets that goes into pretty much anything plastic that we have. Not necessarily a plastic bottle, but cell phones, football helmets, vehicles, all-terrain vehicles, you name it. RTP's product is in a lot of those products that we use every single day. So those are just 3 examples of companies that were sort of, I would say, born and raised here in Winona that really have a global presence. Now, Miller Scrap and Disposal, our company, we're 4th generation scrap recycler. Actually, 5th generation now. My brother, 2 of his kids are working here. So my 2 brothers and I are the 4th generation.
Wow.
His 2 boys are the 5th generation. We buy and sell scrap regionally, nationwide, and actually have some global markets as well.
That's pretty cool.
We launched a garbage business a couple years ago. So our largest local garbage company sold to a larger out-of-state conglomerate. We started getting phone calls from customers. Hey, would you ever think about going into this? So that's something that I led the effort on a couple years ago. Is launching that garbage business. I knew a little bit, but really had to dig in deep and basically learn a new business. And Robby, one of the things that I've learned, whether you're maintaining a business, building a business, whether you're in politics. My wife and I also own a restaurant downtown Winona with a couple friends of ours called Sliced. What I've learned is it is very important to have really good people. Bring on the best team that you can. Surround yourself with good people, people that you can trust, because that's how a lot of these businesses have found success. Yeah, there's a leader on top that sort of oversees everything, but the people that make things happen are the team of people that you bring on to help run the day-to-day operations, and that is so incredibly important. One of my struggles early on in business and in politics was I had a hard time delegating responsibilities. I tried to do it all, whether it was here at the business, whether it was in the Senate, anything else. I tried to do everything, and what happened is I started to micromanage, and I realized very quickly that one person can't do it all. You need key people that you can lean on, that you can rely on to help you do what you need to do to provide the best possible constituent services in the legislature. You need an awesome legislative assistant. You need great people that can do research on the issues that we're getting questions about, or the issues that we're discussing in the legislature. In a business, you need key people that can do key roles. So one of the things I've always tried to do is hire people that, number one, are good at what they do, in most cases smarter than me, which doesn't take very much, but hire the right people and then let them do their job. And certainly available to be a resource, but that's really how we've helped scale our business here, Miller Scrap and Disposal. Certainly the scrap side and the disposal side is bringing on key people that are really good at what they do. It's how I've found a lot of success in the legislature. And another really important thing that I've learned, especially from my dad, is the importance of building relationships. So you can get done just about anything you set your mind to if you put in the time and the work and the effort to get it done. But I've also learned that you can't do things on your own. You need to build relationships with people, and you never know when you're going to see those people again, or when you're going to need them in the future, or when they're going to need you. And while I'm not the smartest or the most intelligent person, or I don't have all the answers in the world, I do have a lot of key relationships, and it has helped me be very successful. It's helped me connect people in business, connect people in politics, so much so that I'm working with a few startup companies. And really how that all started was just not only introducing folks to some of the relationships or the people that I know, but building more and more relationships. And something that I learned my first year of college, I went to a school called Johnson & Wales University in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
And I went for sports entertainment event management. And the school didn't work out. The school, it wasn't the right fit, but I met a gentleman my first year of school. His name was Michael Ditchfield, and he was a professional soccer player in the 80s, and he was, I think he kicked for the Denver Broncos for a couple years, and he told me something that I'll never forget. I built a good relationship with him, and he said, "Jeremy, you've probably heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know." Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I said, "Yeah, Mr. Ditchfield, of course, I've heard that." He said, "Well, Jeremy," he says, "not completely accurate." And I'm like, what are you talking about? Uh-huh. He said, "Jeremy, it's not what you know or who you know, it's who knows you." Think about that for a moment. It's not what you know or who you know, it's who knows you. And Robby, what I learned from that is every time you meet someone, do your very best to leave a positive impression. You may agree with them, you may disagree with them, you may like what they're talking about, you may not like what they're talking about. Regardless, everyone that you meet, do your very best to leave a positive impression on them, because you never know when you're going to meet them again. You never know when you might need them for something in the future. Mm-hmm. Even more importantly, you never know when they might need you for something in the future. So a lot of the relationships that I've built over the years, I've used that mentality. Leave a positive impression on everyone you meet, because it is so critically important for what you do in the future and potentially for your future success.
Right on. That's pretty good advice.
Yeah. If I can leave people with anything today, it's that.
All right.
Is build relationships and leave a positive impression on everyone you meet.
We'll leave it there then.
All right.
Sweet. Okay. Now, all right. Cool.
Sounds good,
Senator
man.
Miller, second time.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you very
man.
much.
All right. Take care.